All right, welcome everybody. I've got Gretchen Rivas here of Relax Massage Therapy and skincare, as well as that's a new one on us, as well as Infinity Acupuncture. Gretchen her and I have worked together for probably 12, going on 11, 12 years now. So had a long-term relationship, had one heck of a journey. To watch what she's done to grow herself and her business over that time is just absolutely really a great, amazing story from where she's come to where she is now. So excited to be able to get her to share some of her best practices, lessons learned over that journey that's got her to where she is. She's definitely still a work in process and has a vision for something much larger than she has now, but really it's really cool at times to sit and realize, holy cow, this is where you started and this is where you've ended up. So anyway, I'll quit talking about how awesome you are and I'll let you prove it, everybody. So Gretchen, and by the way, what's even cooler is Gretchen is coming from us in Hawaii. I'll let you give you those details, but
okay.
But she's coming to us from a exotic location. So talk a little bit about what's got you where you're, like, just geographically, like what's up in Hawaii.
Oh, okay. So my daughter is married to a Marine, a sergeant in the Marine Corps, and they are out here in Kaneohe K-Bay, as they call it here on Oahu. We're on the other side of the island from Honolulu. And so she has 10-month-old twins. So I'm the grandmother of 10-month-old identical twin baby boys, whom you will probably see when they wake up. It's 5:40 in the morning here, 6-hour time difference when we're in daylight savings time. So I got up early, and hopefully we'll get a little bit of a chat in before they wake up, because they can be a little bit loud.
So that's awesome. So visiting grandkids, and it's really cool that you're able to do that. And I can imagine 10, 12 years ago, the thought of you being able to regularly, be able to, take a week off, go play with the kids, and the business still running and producing a profit without you there. How far that was away from the reality when we first met 12 years ago.
Well, it wasn't even a thought 12 years ago. So I didn't think that would ever happen.
And we talked about it a little bit before, but it's amazing, we've as we've known each other for so long, you've watched my kids grow up. I've watched your kids grow up, and it was so funny realizing that, man, when we first met your daughter, man, she was, 14, 15 years old.
And a brat.
And a rascal, and just and of course I've got those 15, mine's 15, 17, and 19 now. So, my 15-year-olds, and you used to tell me, like, when you'd kind of, tell me about some of the adventures of raising a 15-year-old. You were like, you just wait. and now I'm at the place to where, like, I get it. I get what she was saying. So anyway, well, glad you're able to there, and cool that your daughter's grown up. Sounds like she's become a pretty amazing young lady. And as a side note, I'm a Marine as well, as most of you and most people realize that my background's a Marine. So I never got the cool duty of being stationed in Hawaii. So that's he got full support.
Well, the lucky part for them is, and it's maybe part of why they got it too, was they didn't have children before they came here. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot cheaper to move 1 or 2 than it is to move 4.
That's right. So. That's right. So anyway, but on to well, let's share with the crowd. Obviously you've volunteered to come out and share your story at the Business Expo coming up, and putting this together is part of that. But just want to take the opportunity for you to share your story, the journey of your business, which has been a pretty amazing journey. And I think people, aspiring business owners and existing business owners, can learn a lot from some of the details around that. And there's just not enough opportunity to share that, because heck, you're busy, not just running herd, managing your existing business, but doing something tougher, which is continuing to grow it.
Right.
So there's not a lot of time to sit and share with your story. So it's a great time to do that. So anyway, so tell everybody the story of the business. How'd you get to where you are today from a business perspective?
Well, I have to say, Reggie has a huge part in why I'm sitting here in Hawaii today. Because 12 years ago when we met, I was a single mom. My son was just getting ready to go off to Chapel Hill for school, and my daughter and I I had just moved into a new house in Pine Valley,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working out of my home. I had like an addition to the house that was where my massage practice was. And so I would work from the home and do my massages. And then I went back to school for acupuncture school. And that was when I actually realized I needed help. And so Reggie helped me figure out like how, about hiring another massage therapist and having somebody working because my school was in Boone, North Carolina. So every month for 4 years, I had to go to Boone for a week for school. And while I was there, I would have other massage therapists work. And so I wouldn't lose the business aspect of things while I was gone. And so that's kind of how we started growing, just that. But I will say, but backing way up to like even before I met Reggie, like the way things really got started is I was at not a health fair, but just one of those little community things at Human Cray Park. And I did a silent auction where I won a 1/4-page color ad in the Yellow Pages.
Right.
And that Yellow Pages ad, because you have to remember, this was 17 years ago. So there was no Facebook. There was not really much of an internet or anything. Was what catapulted my business for me from just a word of mouth to actually people calling for massages and helping grow my business. So the marketing aspect of things helped. And I know this is jumping ahead a little bit, but it's like it took a while for Reggie to get me out of the Yellow Pages, and we had to do those, track the leads from that to figure out like, what, I'm paying all this money now, because it wasn't free forever. It was just free that first year. And just realizing that, wait a minute, nobody's calling from the Yellow Pages anymore. I can let that go. It's okay. So shifting over to website-based things is what really made the biggest difference.
Right. And then of course, shifting over to the website really created this environment to where you had more massages you can handle. You were turning calls away.
Right.
And you had, you were only here 3 weeks out of the month. 4th week you were away at school. So you had great repeat business. So there wasn't room. So you made that step in bringing in, other massage therapists, because that's the big problem that they have is the massage therapists have. They go to school, they get a license, they think they're going to be self-employed, but they realize that lead generation is hard, and they don't get lucky, and they don't win a Yellow Page ad, and
not anymore.
And they don't and they don't figure out that, or they didn't at the time, even they didn't realize, have the opportunity to go, all right, this is how I start marketing, and then or to take the risk and take the step. They often don't have the resources, the trust, and the ability to do that. So so you had solved the problem that most massage therapists have, is generating enough leads. So so started to get that going. So fast forward, like what happened from there? How did you get out of the house to where?
Okay. So I finished acupuncture school, and I opened my practice in 2011. And I went to a little room in a chiropractor's office for the first year. And so meanwhile, I had massage therapists still working at my house doing massage while I was over at the acupuncture clinic doing that. And a year into that, when my lease ran out, I was like, oh my God, we've got to do something that's more effective than this. And I found a place over in Oleander Office Park that was for rent. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. We have like a lobby and an office place, and we have 3 treatment rooms. And it was such a big deal back then, 3 treatment rooms. And so I consolidated everything. It was the happiest day of my husband's life, besides when we got married. But for me to move the business out of the house and get everything out of there. And so we moved into this new space, and then I had my very first hire. I had never had an employee before, because my massage therapists were subcontractors. And we did the whole interviewing process. I learned how to do that. Got the best employee ever, and she was with me for 3 years. But that was how we started. So we were there we're still in that space actually, but a year after we were in that space, we rented additional space upstairs and added 2 more massage rooms. One of them was a couples massage room. And then a year after that, we expanded again, and we took the acupuncture out of that space and moved it across the parking lot into another space. And then 2 years after that, just last year, when the space next door to us opened up, we took over that space and expanded again. So that's our newest, latest, and greatest and most beautiful space.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And then when the lease ran out on the upstairs, we let that go because we have the other space. So now we have 7, let's see, 6, 7, like a total of 9 rooms for massage.
Mm-hmm. That's
8
right.
or 8 rooms, I think. Yeah. And we've added skincare.
That's right. That's right. So I like to say 4 locations. I like to lay claim.
Yeah.
So you got 4 locations now, which really 2 are adjacent. One's across the place, and you got one in Hampstead. So
right.
Just employee-wise, what's it gone from just you being self-employed to total crew count now?
So now I have 9 massage therapists, an esthetician, 2 acupuncturists. I have an office manager, 2 front desk staff, and we're in the hiring process for 2 assistant managers.
Right. So 18, somewhat 17, 18-ish employees or team members all in total.
Sounds, yeah, I think so.
18. Or you're headed that way before the end of the next few weeks, you'll have up to 18 employees. So, wow, it's been a heck of a journey along the way. Like going from self-employed to, running herd. Like use cowboy terms for being out west, I guess. But running herd.
Well, sometimes it's more like herding cats, but
That's right. Running herd on 18, team members.
And I have to
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I have to say too, because I remember when I first started working with you, and you had the little business analysis things, and I would go through it to check off the boxes, and there were these huge sections on like employees and staff and just all these different parts. I would have to skip them because it was just me. Right. I would never imagine in my wildest dreams that it would be what it is today.
Right.
Like, those first couple of years when I was working with you, and it was just me.
Right.
So it's changed a lot.
That's right. So, running herd and growing a business, 18 employees, all female, by the way. So
yes.
A lot of estrogen in that room. By the way, not judging that, but it is different than a lot of environment. It creates a little bit different kind of environment. The fair sex was really blessed with a lot more emotion and feelings and those kind of things. So it's it's a lot to run herd on.
Right.
When you regards to doing that. So sure, it's been a heck of a journey. Learned a lot of things along the way. Let's kick into, there's really 2 sides of this I'd like you to share. The first one being, what are some tips that have really helped with growing, that have been most impactful with you growing on the money side of the house, growing profits, going from one of the stats you include is that you've gone from, $50,000 a year business to almost $1 million business in your time. And that, that's just an abnormal, that's not 10x growth, that's 20x growth, from a sales perspective. And that's just a journey that most people don't make. So you've done some pretty exceptional things, not just in business, but in your industry. That just does not happen with great regularity. That is an oddity, unicorn level of growth in your practice to kind of get organically from this to that. So get rid of yourself. And often I don't acknowledge that, because sometimes this is back to kind of profiting your own hometown kind of thing. And it really hit me a couple of years ago. I probably never shared this, but I've always known you started out, you were the little business, the little self-employed business, and working your way up, and the business that could, and, had a lot more heart than you had sales. and you were just kind of this way up. And then all of a sudden it hit me a couple of years ago. It was like, holy cow, Gretchen's got a legit business now. Like this is grown into something, but I always had you identified in certain levels. Right. And even our coaching program was still it was the same coaching program 10 years later than when it started. I was like, and for 6 months to a year, I was like, she does not have enough, she needs more. Like that was one feeling you had, but it really just took a, hit over the head to go, holy cow. This is she has grown into a pretty phenomenal business. So what you've done has been tremendous. It really even kind of took a, hit over my head to go, wow. Because when you it's like your kids, like you don't see the difference in them when they grow up day to day, but you see pictures of them 2 years ago and you're like, oh yeah, look how they grow. Well, kind of my business kids. So the
well, I got to move up to the big kids table.
That's right. And
that's how I feel. Like at Thanksgiving, I got to move from the kids table to the adult table.
Yeah, and for those of you that don't know, we do group coaching. We gather our business owners together on a regular basis, on a monthly basis, and share best practices, lessons learned. They do some mastermind work, and so you kind of assign people in groups, small groups that are based on their business size and growth. And Gretchen was in a little bit smaller group, and I was like, nope. Yep, you're going to the big group, Gretchen. You're big girl business now. So congrats for that growth. But anyway, back to the what got you there. The straw that stirred the drink of the business growth was the financial piece of it, and that's a lot. Okay. So what has happened? What are some of your secrets, big things that have made a difference on the money side?
Well, I'll start out with, I think the first thing is having a great website. So I will say that my original website was not what it is today at all. I didn't have a brand. I just kind of used these colors from this business card that I got from like Vistaprint or something years ago. And then a few years into it, Reggie's like, you really need to work with a graphics person and, have a brand. So I sat down with a graphics designer and we designed my brand. He asked a lot of questions and everything. And that's how we came up with the logo that we have today, which has the hands coming up with the magic coming out of them, because that's one of the things people always said is like, it's like you have magic in your hands,
right?
From the massage aspect of things and just the healing aspect for people. And so when we changed the logo and the brand, we actually had a brand, which was great, because if you don't have a brand, you can't, if you're doing sponsorships or any kind of community stuff, you have to have a brand to send to people, to put up. And I never had that until then. And so then we ended up having to change the website. So then we went from just this kind of generic website to, a branded theme website. And that started making the difference. And I think the other thing that's helped my website too is I've actually had a website for, 15 years or so, which in the massage industry, for most people, that's a long, long time. And so that, because I'd had one for so long, that helped me kind of stay at the top part of Google. But I will say, when I started my acupuncture business, I was so used to being front page that it was a shock to not be automatically front page for my, for the acupuncture side of things. And so I had to do some things. So one of the things I've realized is having a lot of reviews makes a huge, huge difference. Relax, we hit the 500 mark. Yeah. We have over 500 reviews on Google. I don't worry so much about Yelp because anyway, we won't talk about Yelp. And then, we're still working on the infinity side of things. We don't have the flow of things that we have at Relax. It's a little bit different over there. So we're still working on that. But one of the things that I learned when it comes to getting your website more recognized by Google is putting video on it and having that, because now that Google owns YouTube, you have to have that connection. And so I added a video, a welcome video on my front page. And then I have several videos explaining like how we do acupuncture and testimonial videos are huge. And because people see these people instead of just reading something that, who knows, maybe I made it up, right? They like the video testimonial part of it. And that really helped bump my Infinity Acupuncture website up higher up on Google. So that's one of the things, like you have to have reviews and you have to have good testimonials and good video on your website, and that will make the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah, and if you break that down, let me share from the coach angle of it, all the strategy behind that, or my take on what's been so successful. The first thing was, we built the website using principles that we believe in strongly. It's one of our beliefs and values within Action Coaches. Create marketing copy that addresses the fears, frustrations, concerns of the marketplace. So as opposed to what a lot of what's very common, not just in your industry, but in industries, across the spectrum, is they focus their marketing pieces, their marketing copy on what they do, as opposed to what problems they solve, or what fears, frustration, concerns. So I think we started not just once you got the design, with the design piece of it, you got the corporate identity done, but we also had messaging in there and created marketing talking points that was along the lines of like, what are the major frustrations, fears, and concerns that people have when they, see a massage therapist.
Right. And that's what we did the video on. It's like,
that's
not like how great I am, but like, because the two main questions that people ask is, like for acupuncture, will it hurt? Does it hurt? Does it work? And the same thing with massage was, can you help me? And do you know what you're doing? Will you be able to help me? Do you know what you're doing? Will you hurt me?
Right.
So we answered those questions in the welcome videos, so that people had fears around massage or acupuncture. We addressed those fears rather than just talking about what we did.
We did it two different ways. Like in the massage therapy side, it was a lot of people that were seeking massage had massage. So it was easy to address those concerns. Or the other person is one that I'm a little freaked out by the idea of massage, but I've been told I need one. I'm on the internet. I'm doing some research. I need to be comfortable with the person because I got touch issues. I've got who's gonna be working on me. I got to be comfortable getting naked in somebody's office and being vulnerable and being touched, and that freaks some people out. But they're like, I know I need it. But so who am I going to be comfortable with in that kind of environment? So you have to address all that. Well, what the video did was not only address some of those things in verbiage that address those common concerns. And if you'll go to if you're watching this, if you'll go to Gretchen's Relax massage,
Wilmington.com.
Yeah, relaxwilmington.com, or just Google search Relax Wilmington, and that'll come up. And watch the video. And then as we're breaking this down, look at how that gets executed. And what are the common concerns? Will you hurt me? I've had massage therapists that have really they've had them that have hurt them before, and often they're some massage therapists are they got a little sadist in them, where where they're just like, you start to come off the table and they're like, you need this. And that's okay for some people. I kind of into that kind of thing, but but on the other side, there's some people that just, they can't take the pain, and I'm a pain, no gain kind of guy. So, but there's some people that just no pain. You got but often massage therapists aren't intuitive like that. They're just, this is what you need. I know what you need, and I'm not going to listen to you and your body and what your body's telling me you need. So so being intuitive and all those things that you saw the frustrations of and made people comfortable. What happened was, and then we started driving traffic to there. We turned on, did paid ads. We got, we had somebody that was really good at search engine, marketing and optimization. So the combination of driving traffic and then them hitting a message that was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. I'm comfortable with this person. I like and trust this person. This is somebody I'd be comfortable with in that intimate, delicate, touchy environment. Like, I'd be good with that. And then you did a magical thing over time, which was, online booking, where somebody had an immediate call to action, and they could book right then, instead of having to make a phone call. I mean, you had people booking appointments when they were in their pajamas at, 11 o'clock at night. Or whatever, middle of the night in the morning, whatever. They can see where it is. They can think of, so they can make an immediate action. So there's this sales engine that was created, just was really, you really were on the front edge of that, through, the combination of some of the things we brought to the table in philosophy and messaging, and then the things that you were like, of course you were always, you give me a lot of credit, but you were also pretty, progressive in your thought, going, all right, I got a problem. This solves my problem. This problem, this solves my problem. This solves my problem. And I'm like, what? You're moving again? What? Can you afford that? You got the money? Let's look at it. Oh, no, well, if you do this and this, you got the money. You're like, okay, I got it. So, and you were just always taking those next progressive steps to move forward. That kind of drove it. And the online booking, you were really early on that. And that, you saw it, solved a problem, took a chance on it and did it. And sometimes, it's funny, I give you a hard time sometimes, because sometimes you just do things on impulse, gut, without a lot of analysis.
Yeah.
And that has got you in some trouble. And I've been like, what are you thinking? You should check with me on that. But there was other things for all that for all of those, there are a bunch of things where it was like, yep, that makes sense. Do it. I'll try it. I failed. It won't be the biggest failure in my life if I do it. And if I screw it up, I'm just going to pay the consequence, call it education, and keep on walking. And that whole mindset that you've developed over the years, and just maybe your natural leanings or that kind of thing, like, hey, I'll try it. If it doesn't fail, it's not the biggest failure in my life. I'll learn from it and move on. So that's been, I think, a big part of your progression is your willingness to just try something. As a side note, where did that come from? Where did that come from? Did that, outside of just your natural personality style, is there anything else in life that taught you just to, let's give it a go and see what happens?
I don't know. I think that's just always, I think that could be a little bit of just impulsivity that I used to get reprimanded for as I was growing up. But, I don't know.
So you were like the problem. Were you like the?
Yes, I was the problem child.
Oh, you were the problem child. Okay. Yes. You were the outside the box kid.
Sorry, the dog just came and said good morning. The kids are awake, so I might have to do some covering up of the microphone.
We'll pause if the twins get too rambunctious. So you were always the color outside the line kids or the innovator.
Yes.
Very cool. So that comes natural. Well, good. All right. So the other thing I was going to talk about was on the infinity side.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't the fear, frustration, concern that people had with acupuncture, the acupuncture treatments and experience, because most of the marketplace had not experienced acupuncture before. I would assume most of your inbound inquiries are more inquisitive, or what's it like,
right.
Will it work, and I want to try acupuncture, which I've learned you don't try acupuncture, by the way, but that's their natural question. So,
right.
The way we framed up that messaging was, we realized that comparing to other acupuncture experiences didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. But the main driver of people into acupuncture is they've tried
everything else.
Western medicine, tried everything else. The approach that Western medicine have, which is,
take a pill, let me cut you.
Treat the symptoms, don't get to the root cause. The big difference in acupuncture is they really focus on, peeling the onion and getting to the root cause of the issue and fixing that, letting the body heal itself and all those kind of things. So you had to do a play on, really like, here's the frustrations I have in my life. Not necessarily with other acupuncture folks, but here's some frustrations I have in my life, and also with the Western philosophy of let's just treat this with a pill, which in some cases works and can be effective, but there's a lot of cases and a lot of proof that, not getting to the root cause of the symptom and just kind of throw a pill at it real quick, that doesn't get to the root cause of the issue. It just deals with symptoms. So as you push that in your marketing, that made a difference. So if you got anything to add, throw that in there. But I want to talk about the review thing. One of the things that we've observed in working with you and your team. Now, of course, I kind of the review thing. I always thought, for as much volume and as many massages you did every week and every year, we looked at reviews and just said that, you got one of your little ones crawling up.
Can you hand one to me? They came down so quietly. I didn't know. I heard a little patter on the floor, and I was like, what is this? Here's one.
Look at that.
Logan.
Hey,
say
bud.
hi, Logan. He's like, I'm just woke up.
I need my coffee.
Where's my bottle?
I need my job working.
He has a grumpy face on this morning. Can you smile? Can you smile at Reggie right there? Can you smile? It's like, nope, not yet.
A little later. Oh, there we go. I got some smiles now. How awesome.
Okay. I love you, sweet boy. Go see mommy.
That's probably worth the long flight.
There it is. Well, I have both. I have two. So the other one's.
That's right.
I don't know where he went.
So the so anyway, where we review thing. Oh, is that the happy one?
This is Gabriel.
He's fired up and ready to go.
Gabriel's always smiley, almost.
Cool. So we realized that you had so much volume going through the business in regards to traffic, but the reviews didn't match that.
Right.
You were voted best of Wilmington Massage, and it had a lot of awards and accolades, but the number of reviews being captured went, and that changed the dynamic. Talk about how going from what I viewed as a ridiculous amount of, I almost just bullied you into realizing, like, look, you got 30 massages on there and you're doing hundreds a year. Like, come on, we got to get this
right
up. And so two things. How did you, first of all, what was the impact of it? Like, what difference have you seen going from 30 to 40 reviews to over 500? How does that transform?
Okay. So first I'll tell you how, originally we did it through bonusing staff, like having, doing a KPI type of thing. Like, okay, this many massages extra, you get this, we get a bonus structures to encourage them to ask. Okay. Shh. Not that they can shoot, but hopefully they're not too loud.
Which is a side note, was highly effective and
yes.
And worked. So, I know where you're going next. So keep in mind.
Right. And then we automated it.
Yeah.
And so we automated it, which makes helped tremendously.
Right. And if that's all you did, though, if all you did was bonus your staff and had them focused on that, that would make a huge impact.
Yes. It made a huge impact.
Yeah. And then what? And the next step was?
But the main thing that having all those reviews has done is my front desk staff, now when they answer the phone, they don't have to convert. It used to be people would call and they would price shop and they'd be like, how much are your massages? And we would have to tell them and let them understand why, why ours is better for the same amount of money or more than elsewhere in town and that type of thing. They rarely have a price shopper out, or rarely have to do any converting. Nowadays, people just call and say, I saw your reviews. I want to book a massage. So the whole conversion factor, of us having to do it, the reviews do it for us. Like, we don't have to try to convince anybody to come and get a massage with us. They just read, 5 or 10 reviews and they're like, oh, I'm going here. It's just, and they look through, and I think, because if they're like me, I don't only look at the newest ones. I look back, I like to see, make sure that they're actually like real people, that type of thing. And it's very obvious that they are real people, with just the way they say things and all that kind of stuff. And so it's, having reviews like that has changed everything.
Okay. All right, cool.
Everything.
Good. All right. All right. So we had a quick location change because the boys, they may want to contribute a little more to the show than or the cast that we may want.
Then y'all want to hear.
That's right. We want to hear. So we'll they're starting to get fired up. So anyway, but the the other thing, I guess the cool thing about, we're talking about reviews, which was, not only has it changed the tenor of the call, but also the volume of calls that have come in.
Yeah.
You've seen that, like the phone rings off the hook, and where lead generation, is just not the problem, at Relax anymore. Plenty of the volume of calls, and the conversation's totally different. It goes from, why should I choose you, to, when can I
have any openings?
Yeah. When can I get in? And,
right.
Can I get in today? Which, so anyway, so it's really changed that dynamic quite a bit. So web marketing, all the things you're doing web wise, really, has done a lot to increase in the leads and conversion rates and getting new customers. But once you have them, you've also had a lot of great lessons on the value of existing clients and repeat business. So talk a little about how the transition, kind of how that's all played out from you being self-employed and then, getting other
working with my team on that.
So chat a little bit.
Right. So when it was just me, and my whole livelihood depended upon being able to, have people come back, and it's like we didn't have the machine that we have today of, getting people coming in. Mm-hmm. And so I had a really good, what we call repeat ratio. Mm-hmm. And that, I was very good at talking to clients about what they needed and how I could help them and why they needed to come back in. And so that repeat ratio was very important because it not only kept my book full, I didn't have to have as many new clients coming in all the time.
Mhm.
And, there are dips in the cycle for everybody, no matter how good you are. Like,
Mhm.
the common aspect for most people getting massage is every other week. Like once they get their main problems worked out and they come in, they have an every other week cycle or once a month cycle, depending on the person. So if you don't have that the opposite week full, then you have these dips in your ability to have business.
Mhm.
So one of the things I've had to do is really work with my team on how to rebook and how to build, a repeat ratio that will help them stay in business even when Azalea Festival's here, and everybody's downtown, because, the locals don't do that.
Right.
They stay on our side of town and
Yeah.
hopefully come and get massages,
That's right. That's right.
that type of thing. So learning to build a book that's based on helping people regularly versus just the tourist has been a huge part of what we do and why, and the importance of building that business. So I've had to work, and the thing is most massage therapists don't know how to do it and they're not
Mhm.
that good at it. And
Mhm.
so I've had to work with my team on how to um, talk to their clients about what they need and how they can help them, and the importance of regular massage and that type of thing.
It's funny. So one of the things that the observation here is when you the lead generation engine that you created, where you would produce all these new leads. Now, you
Mhm.
often had to pay, you still have to pay for those leads. I mean, they just don't come
Right.
automatically. But you have to pay for them through web marketing, paid ads, those kind of things. So you invest a lot in marketing to keep that engine going, not just
Right.
being comfortable. And what if one thing goes away? But you've done a good job producing the engine, and that was a blessing and a curse, because before you had that engine, you were just really good at booking clients. I mean, you couldn't get
Right.
out. You couldn't get out of your office without dealing with you and your book.
Right.
Like you were
Oh
there,
yeah.
book was there. All right, when we doing this next? Like those were
Right.
good habits you related as a starving, up and coming, hungry business owner. It's like, I'm not going out and chasing new clients. Like you need massage. This is going to be helpful. Here's why.
Mhm.
And you need to come back and see me next week, 2 weeks, a month from now, whatever. But we're going to make, just like a good hairstylist or, a good self-employed person does, is I don't have the time to go chase new customers.
Right.
You need it. You have what I need, and you need it regular. Let's do it. We're not going to leave this up to chance, or whenever you get around to thinking you need a massage, when
Right.
it's all twisted and jacked up,
We're starting over.
we're gonna go in maintenance mode. So you're not coming over with me on a crippled back,
Right.
all the
Well,
time.
the other thing that I've found too about the value of existing clients is, some people do fall off their routine.
Mhm.
And, we have a filing cabinet full of files, from, when you think about it, 17 years working with people, there's a lot of clients in there. But one of the things that Reggie has taught me is the value of, like, if people already know, like, and trust us
Mhm.
because we've already had our hands on them, they're more likely to come back in than somebody that's never been in.
That's right.
And so my therapists that haven't been with me that long, I give them free access to the filing cabinet. Like, why don't you see who hasn't been in a while? You
Right.
go in there. And so they go back in, and they've been reconverting clients to come back in, like, oh yeah, I haven't had a massage in a while. Thanks so much for calling me and reminding me to come in. And then I've taught my other therapist to go back and look at their book. And I have one therapist in particular who is going back in and saying, and looking at the same month from last year, like and she's converting them and reminding them. They're like, oh yeah, I haven't been in. So,
Right.
that value of, working with clients that you currently have or have had. Because I've told my therapist so many times that I used to work with a guy that was, not far from my house. And I would drive down College Road past where I would turn to his house. And I would think in my head, I wish he would call me and get me on this table, because I would always forget to call him. And so I
Right.
tell him, we're not bothering people to remind them of why they need us. And
That's right.
I mean, maybe that's a valuable lesson for any business owner is, it's not usually a bother. I mean, sometimes some people can be annoying.
That's right.
Like,
That's right.
Yelp is annoying.
That's right. You're right. That's right.
But when you're doing something to help somebody, It's like people aren't annoyed when you're trying to help them.
That's right.
Yeah, most of the time, like, oh yeah, you're right. I need to get back in there.
Yeah. So back to the, all right, so you were really, really good at rebooking and you had a good
Yes.
plan. People need it and those kind of things. And then we transfer this to, now you've got these therapists that practitioners that are working for you that didn't buy the lead and that didn't pay for it with their blood, sweat, tear, reputation. And Gretchen just writes checks and customers come in. This is a beautiful, they come to you like, I need customers, I need customers, I need customers. Well, Gretchen solves the problem and they're like birds, you know,
Feed me.
put a little worm in my mouth. Gretchen, your job is to put worms in my mouth. And,
Right.
And if I don't get a repeat, no problem. Gretchen will just give me another one.
Right.
And also, if Gretchen doesn't give me enough, I get to complain to Gretchen and go, Gretchen, we don't have enough leads. And you're like, you've had all these massages. What's happened to those? So through this transition and learning of, becoming, kind of moving from self-employed to business owner, it's like, wait a second, these new subcontractors and practitioners that aren't buying in these leads with their blood, sweat, tears, and finances, they don't care about getting a repeat. And it's outside of their comfort zone and their knowledge zone, and they have to develop a skill, and they're not good at it. So they have to become good at something they're not good at,
right.
which generally doesn't happen to their own devices. So it requires, coaching, developing. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the ones that really do well in your practice, and the value of that repeat business, it's so amazing how once you value repeat customers,
yes,
what that does and how successful, rewarding, profitable that is for the therapist and for the business as a whole.
Well, I think we ran the numbers one time on the value of an existing client, the lifetime value. That's what it was called, the lifetime value. And what's interesting is that we ran those numbers on a particular couple that I gave away a couples massage to a charitable thing that they bought. I went and gave them massages at their house one time, and then they started coming in. I think it's been over 10 years now. They've come in consistently, not every 2 weeks because they travel now because they have grandkids. And, but at the time we were looking at, like, let's say over, I think 5 years or something, the lifetime value of a client that comes in every 2 weeks is like, $8,000 or $10,000. I don't remember the number.
Right.
But since then I've realized that's grown because they're still coming in and still getting massages and now getting facials and, those types of things. And they recommend us to friends and they send their kids in when they're here visiting with the grandkids. And so, taking care of and holding on to and making sure that your client, current and past clients are happy is just a huge, huge thing to keep your business stable.
That's right. So, so existing clients, it's funny. What I've observed is that so many businesses have marketing plans to attract new customers.
Right.
They don't have marketing plans for existing customers, and they don't execute that. And stats will prove that it's exponentially. Some study shows it's 6 times easier to get a existing customer back in than it is to be able to go, find a new one. And it's 6 times less expensive and it's 6 times less effort. But it is exponentially, whatever the stat you may find is from business, but it is exponentially more effective in dealing with past clients. And if you put more efforts there, you'll be spending a lot less money on attracting new clients.
Right.
And to be able to support your needs. You need to still have new blood and fresh, and fresh blood, new clients coming into the fold. But if you're not marketing effectively toward your existing customers, you're just wasting a huge opportunity that's highly, highly effective and profitable.
Right. And I will just say on a little side note, one of the things that we do is we send out birthday postcards every month to people for, $20 off their massage. And that's great, especially those people that haven't been in a while. It's a great way to reactivate them.
That's right.
But now that we have like a 5,000 base of existing clients in the database, it's let's send it to the locals because we have a ton of out of town and vacationers that come in every time they come into town, so we don't send to those. But all the local people we send regular birthday postcards to, and that helps reactivate. We do some newsletters, email marketing, informational type stuff, Facebook, those types of things.
We're talking. I've got an idea for you. I'll just do it. We'll just do it live. By the way, you want to sample coaching? This is what it looks like. One of the things that we may want to look is like a wanted. I know one of the other businesses I've worked with here has done a wanted poster. Like once there was a certain poster, like a wanted card mailing that it was, and he did it in like a cowboy, like old Western theme, to where it would, kind of say wanted. Hey, we missed you. It's been 6 months since you've been here. It's been years since you've been here. We're missing you. And just once it hits the year point of where they've been in, or 6 months or whatever that is, to go, we miss you. And of course you could be creative and funny and cheeky and, and how you do that, but kind of do some Paul Dunn style writing on, how we miss you and we're shedding a tear because you're not here and that kind of thing. But, having a systematic, like once somebody hits the 6 month point since they've been in there, you go, hey, where you been? We miss you. Come on back.
Right. That's a good idea.
Hope you're doing well. And then a year from, now like, oh, it's been a year. We're starting to get worried. We're going to call out we might want to call out a search party. Is everything okay?
Right.
Having fun with it, to make sure that, just to put a little touch, and the money you'll spend on it, far less than you'll spend trying to drag that new person in the door. So
right.
That's good.
Right.
Which, by the way, that new person in the door often becomes that out-of-town person, which we love the out-of-town people. They're wonderful. We're wonderful when they come and spend their money. It's also cool when they go home. They go, but the problem is they're not great recurring targets. So the way you separate your database to go, can't send birthday cards to everybody because the volume is too high, but really targeting in on, this is our sweet spot. And the real smart thing to do is segmenting the database and marketing to a specific target. That makes sense. Right. Good on you, as my Australian and Down Under colleagues.
Good on you.
Good on you. So you've also, one of the things that is part of your journey is you've had to face price increases.
Yeah. Well, I look back, how much I charged for massage when I first started? I think $45.
Really?
For an hour.
I don't remember that. Wow.
And then I was like, okay, I need to be at least 50. So when you think about it, over 17 years, the fact that we only charge 75 for Swedish is not very much on price increases.
Right.
Over 17 years.
Right. So what's been your learnings around that? Because when I talk to owners about price increases, they have there's a lot of fear there.
Yes.
And there's a lot of hesitation. I'm sure similar to what you've experienced as well. What was how'd you work through that, and what did you learn on the backside?
Well, one of the things that I've learned is it can help with your margins. You just go up a little bit. You don't have to go up. I didn't go from 45 to 75 overnight. It's been a little bit of price. We'd go up $5 here and $5 there. And it's like, we've kind of gotten to where we are now over the last several years. But we, I guess one of the things I've learned is, like, if our clients can't afford $5 more for everything that we give them, they're probably not the ideal client anyway. And I don't have any problem redirecting people to somewhere, like if they just can't afford us, like I'll send them to the massage colleges where they can get something for $35, where somebody's just learning. I don't have a problem with that, because again, my ideal client is the person that will come in like every 2 weeks or at least once a month on a regular basis and, want to invest in their health. And not everybody's willing to do that. And that's okay. There are other places in town for them to go. So I have to not be afraid to go up that $5, because I might scare off the people that aren't the ideal client anyway.
That's right. And what also empowers you to do that as well, that I don't know if you're thinking about, but your marketing engine and repeat business ratios that are so much higher than what the industry standard is. Without locking people into contracts, by the way.
Right.
I'll say the other, when one of your, franchise competitors in town will lock people into, contracts where you have to come in. So, all your customer repeats are voluntary.
Right.
Based on, individualized, and not to lock anybody in. But because of your model that is good with repeat and brings in a lot of people, it gives you the confidence to be able to go up when you have enough business, you can be a little more, you get to be a little more selective about the type of customer you deal with, because and you're able to move up and have the confidence to do that. Where if you're playing from a scarcity mindset where you need every customer you have and you don't have enough, then it really prevents you from having the courage to take that step up and
right,
those price increases.
right.
So that
Yeah.
Right. Talk a little bit about expenses. One of your learnings in the last year, and putting more money, the profits and those kind of things, has been
Okay.
has been keeping expenses tight. Talk about that a little bit.
Well, we had a very challenging lesson with Hurricane Florence, and I'm sure many of you that are listening to this, if you're local, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So earlier last year, we were we were flush with some cash. So I'm like, time to expand. Let's spend all that money, which was, it was still good that we did, because we have this beautiful space and it's really helped grow the business.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I incurred some debt in that expansion, and then I started paying things off because I don't really like to carry a lot of debt. But I dipped it too much into the cash and it didn't set aside any reserves. So then when Hurricane Florence happened and we didn't have any money coming in for 3 weeks because we didn't have any power, that hit of like $50,000 in income it just about took us under. So some of the lessons I've learned is keep some reserves, because if you don't, you just don't know what's going to happen. It's like, who knew that Florence was going to come and sit on us for 3 days and we'd be out of work and who knew that? Right. And then the other thing that we had to do, because we were like, oh my God, we were so strapped for cash, because before I'd been a little flush. So I hadn't really looked at all the tiny details. I hadn't thought about all those little things where we were leaking and just money was just pouring out and I didn't even know it. So with my new manager, who's also an accountant, she started digging in and looking at things. She's like, why do you have all these tablets that you're paying for on your tablets that I didn't even know where they were? I was paying for on my Verizon bill.
Right.
Just all these little tiny things. And so we went through all our expenses with a fine-tooth comb and cut and did this and did that, and just figured out all these ways to make us more of a lean, mean machine than we had been. And so we cut a lot of the fat and cut a lot of the just extraneous things that we didn't really need. One of our biggest things we changed was our sheet service. We were paying $2,000 a month for sheets, and it was.
Which, as a side note, is a common industry. I mean, you were buying those sheets.
No, we weren't buying the sheet.
I'm sorry. You were renting them from a sheet service, which is a very common thing to do. This is the same kind of company that sells, linens to restaurants and those kind of things. So it's a common thing to do. So you're kind of going with the way the salmon swum in regards to using this reliable national service. Go ahead. Right.
So last year I went to a seminar in Orlando, and as part of my research, I went to the Four Seasons and got a massage. And they use comfy sheets there. And I got on that massage bed in between those comfy sheets, and I was like, oh my God, like, what are these? It was a totally different experience than using the sheets that we have at the office. And so one of the goals has been, over the last year, we finally got there, is to invest in the comfy sheets. And then we found a laundromat that can do them locally. And so we've slowly cut out the sheet service. And now all we have are these beautiful, soft, comfy sheets, and we just take them to the laundromat. So our expenses drop from like $2,000 a month to because we're still using the regular sheet service over at Infinity, to like $500, maybe even less.
Right.
And people are having a 10 times better experience, when they slide into those comfy sheets at the massage office than compared to what we used to have. So, yeah, I mean, that expense alone has helped us tremendously. But just kind of figure out, where can you change things? How can you change? What can you do to cut expenses? Because there may be a better way that's even higher end but less expensive. Because the comfy sheets are a huge investment. They're very expensive. But for $2,000 a month, I can have a lot of comfy sheets.
That's right.
And plus we're supporting a local business by taking our business to the local laundromat.
Yeah. And just kind of the concept of owning versus renting,
Yes.
because, and renting is, it's expensive. And, I think part of it is the ambition of the rental company. And there's often a lot of the people that do rent things like that for a living. They deserve to make a profit as well. But also there's a lot of labor on their end. So if you can kind of cut some of that out and do some of that work yourself, because it costs a lot of money to have a guy drive across town to drop it off, do the count, inventory, billing, all that stuff. So, you've got people, you've got resources that just goes off the cleaners, that's cuts out some of the middlewoman work there. So anyway, so it's been a good way of thinking through it. I think the other key to you cutting expenses is also getting someone on your team who compliments you well. You're clearly not the type of owner. I don't know if people are good at reading personality styles, but if people are good at reading personality styles, they learn from your energy and your behaviors that you don't match up to the type of personality that is often very analytical and detail-oriented and fixed-minded, going through your financials through a fine-tooth comb. As a side note, generally people like that don't take it from $50,000 to $1 million. So you're a promoter. You're not an analyzer. You're not a budgeteer. And so that's great, but that's great expansion.
Right.
Often doesn't create great profitability. So and by the way, along the way, you've probably hired some people that are a little bit like you. And so getting somebody that not only has the nature of the analysis side of things, but also has the skill set. I mean, we hired this person in that, is has an accounting background. Talk about the perfect complement to you as a right-hand person that is more, that's skilled at focusing on the expenses and often watches your money a whole lot better than you do.
Oh, not often. Always.
Always. So
there's been a little bit of a dynamic change. I'm like, okay, I look over, I'm like, Jennifer, can we afford this? Like, can we do this? Like when we're on trips and stuff, I ask her, like I make her the expense boss because I like all kinds of bright, shiny objects. She's like, we don't need that, Gretchen. So she keeps me in check, which has been really good.
So bring somebody there because, wasn't long ago you had somebody in your life that was not helping in that way, or that was.
No, she spent more than I did and faster.
Right.
Part of why we got in the bind that we were in is I was not keeping an eye on that, and I let somebody have free reign on finances, which was a huge. So there's another lesson learned. Keep an eye on stuff. Like even if you have somebody else, like Jennifer gives me reports every month. I see what the expenses are. I see what's going on. I didn't used to get all that. And I just let, we had a lot of cash. So I just let this person spend. And it really ended up hurting us in the long run.
That's right.
I have a room full of stuff in the back room at the Hampstead office of just crap that she bought that I'm like, why? We don't need this. I'm just going to have a big giant yard sale or something.
Right.
Because anyway, lessons learned. Keep an eye on the person that's spending your money.
That's right. Maybe I'll come help. It's funny. I have crap in my filing cabinets in my office of stuff that I bought. I started my practice, 13 years ago, and I've got stuff that I bought in that first year that I thought I needed for office. Yeah. Like I need this folder, I need this, and that. Still got it, still in the wrapper. So it's funny. You think you need in the first year or two of your business, and you realize, hey, yeah, I don't use that a lot. So also the last thing from back to the Hurricane Florence lesson, and that was the realization for me and a lot of business owners like you, which was the need for a sense of urgency to build profitability, sales, reserves, cash flow, and be able to move your business with a sense of urgency to your goal, because you never know when the world will stop for a month. I mean, there was a month of where it was not appropriate for us to reach out to people. I mean, we weren't able to reach out to people week before the storm. ish, a few days before,
Right.
a week before the storm. You knew it was coming, and it was supposed to be like devastating. So it wasn't as bad as, although it was bad, it wasn't as bad as they projected. So a week before, it wasn't appropriate to do any business really, and the whole world stopped because they were watching this.
For us, it was like people just canceled appointments because they were evacuating.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Everybody's just gone.
It was going to be. So you spent a week, and then you had the week of the storm. You had several days of the storm, and then you had the immediate aftermath. Where's the war zone, man? You had helicopters, dropping supplies off in the, across the street from the mall parking lot. So I mean, it was a war zone kind of environment to where they were saying, "Do not come back." And then
you couldn't come back.
Yeah, you couldn't come back. And once you were able to get back, it just was not appropriate to especially in my world, to reach out to business owners. So my business stopped for at least a month before it was even cool to call a prospect or to be able to say, hey, we got this going on. We couldn't really engage anybody other than, are you okay? How can we help?
Right.
Can I bring a chainsaw out? Like, I got a truck. What can I do?
Right.
That was really the only, and it wasn't necessarily the time to get a massage and those kind of things. So realizing that in a month, of a lot of businesses, most people are operating the kind of margin where they can do without a month of cash flow and sales. So having a sense of urgency toward building the business and building reserves and building cash flow and those kind of things to prepare for those kind of bad times, I don't think that it surely taught me the need for a sense of urgency, because you never know what's going to keep business for a month. And you talk about that chewing reserves up, man, it'll hurt.
Well, the worst part is if you had no reserves, which was kind of where we were, because I've been paying off all this debt. So one of the things I've learned is, and what's funny is it took this for me to really take in what we learned from, I think it was the guy that was in Houston that came in and talked about money. And he said, it doesn't matter what all the reports say. If you don't have cash,
that's right,
you have nothing. Like if you don't have, because I can't pay my staff with, equity in my business or
accounts receivable,
tables, I can't, I gotta have cash.
That's right.
So that is the one thing I have learned is do everything you can to save some cash and have some cash reserves for an emergency. So my goal now is to build up so that I have several months of cash reserves to be able to, because like my husband's company, they were out of work for I think 2 weeks. They still paid the entire plant, their regular salary for 2 weeks. I wasn't able to do that. And it broke my heart that I couldn't pay my staff. And, they were having to go apply for the food card, from FEMA, because I hadn't planned ahead well enough to cover an emergency like this. So my goal now is, again, that sense of urgency to build some cash reserves. Hurricane season is always right around the corner, because it comes every year. And with climate change, who knows what, it's been 10, 20 years since we had another one like this, but that doesn't mean we won't have one this coming year.
That's right.
So I can't count on the weather to cooperate.
Yeah. So,
and then I think the year before that, we had the freaking two ice storms in a row.
Right.
So we were like, who think we were going to have that? So we were out of business for I don't know, probably at least a week or so, which wasn't quite as devastating, but it was still the parking lot was an ice skating rink. Nobody could go anywhere.
That's right. So making hay while the sun shines.
Yes.
Advantage of, and it's funny that we live in this community. This is a Wilmington and type lesson, but it's funny that people come to Wilmington, especially from certain areas. I had an old boss tell me one time that, in the dynamic of Wilmington, because he came from the hills in Tennessee. He kind of came to where Virginia and North Carolina and Tennessee kind of all come together in the hills there. He's from Tennessee. So he came from up that way. And, of course, he's real smart. He's a smart guy. Of course, he had all his slick Southern, sweet, smooth talking kind of stuff. So he told great stories. And one of the things he told me was that he said, I operate different than most Wilmingtonians. And you really need to be aware of the dynamic of most locals. because where I come from, like, you had to have a sense of urgency in acting. If you didn't hunt, farm, cut wood, and store your food, your fuel, your, and take care of your needs, you were going to starve or freeze to death.
Right.
So you operated from a, sense of urgency. You had to do something, or else you were going to die if you didn't prepare. You weren't going to make it through the winter. So so he said, people in Wilmington, our culture here is like, we're not going to starve. We'll just go catch a fish. We'll just go catch a fish. Worst case scenario, we'll just go catch a fish. Throw a crab pot out, go dig some oysters up. Like, we'll be fine. Like, everything's be okay because we can just go catch a fish. And
until the runoff is so bad that you can't.
Yeah, there's that. But culturally, for years, the ingrained mindset of the locals, and a lot of people get real frustrated with locals, especially Northeasterners, because they're operating on I want it now, this and that. And the locals, the long-term locals before I-40 and all these needs and demands, they were just like, fish. There's fish out there. We're good. Season's not a big deal. It's never too cold to fish, never too warm to fish. Like, our basic needs will be met. And we're friendly, and if you get thrown out of your house, somebody will let you live with them and all that kind of stuff. So you try that stuff in the hills, man. Like, you ain't coming on somebody's property, and they're like, I need my stuff for the winter. You're on your own, buddy. You should have been chopping your wood and fish. And we're just like, hey, look, I got a fish. You want my fish? You can have my fish. Come over, we'll eat some fish. So the
fish fry.
the sense of urgency becomes a lot different. So anyway, realize that having that sense of urgency, which isn't natural, which is what attracts a lot of people here, because we're a little bit laid back here. Don't get too upset. You want to get in, go on and get in. Now, you go up to Raleigh and try to get in on somebody, it's different. Like, try to squeeze in, just like going to the fairgrounds or something, trying to merge in traffic. In Wilmington, they're like, go ahead. We're also good. Let's just eat some fish. We'll let you cut in, no problem. Wave, hi. And it's just not like that in other communities. So sometimes our laid back is what makes it cool, but it also is sometimes to our demise. All right. So we've given some good tips on some of your experiences with money. Let's talk a little bit about team building, growing your team, developing, and really what's made an impact there. So what's made a difference in, because not only have you, so you build it from a money side, but now what money creates is more issues, problems. You got to have people to help you. You can't do $1 million worth of treatments for sure. You can probably do 50, 70,000. So you got to have people to do this work for you. So what are some of the things you've learned about, and of course that gets complicated, because all people don't share your dreams, vision, work ethic, knowledge, belief, values, those kind of things. How have you managed that sticky wicket of having to deal with and manage and grow people?
Well, one of the first things I've learned, and I've learned it from you, Reggie, is I can't grow my team if I don't grow myself. So that's a big part of why, a lot of people, they're like, wow, you've been working with Reggie for 12 years? And I'm thinking, well, yeah, because I don't want to stop growing. That's kind of silly. Because he pushes me to continue to do better. And, what have you read? What have you done? Every week when we meet, it's about what lessons have you learned? All these types of things. And so, and also having goals that I work towards each week. So I carry that over into my team. So I do coaching with my team, because you have to think about it. If I'm not growing myself, how can I ask them to do things that I'm not willing to do? And so I do those things. And then I also tell them, when they're hired, it's all part of the package. It's like, if you want to work here, part of the agreement is you agree to coaching and you agree to team meetings, and you can come to leadership. We also have additional leadership meetings that people don't have to come to, but they're welcome to join in if they want to be a part of growing the business from the inside. Teamwork, part of the thing. And so what I've learned is those that aren't coachable and don't want to be part of that coaching, I need to let go. And I actually just cut loose the last person on the team that had been with me for 5 years. And I kind of held on to her because, there's that sense of loyalty and that sense they've been with me forever and just all that kind of stuff. But she just wasn't coachable, and she wasn't a team player, didn't want to play by the rules because the rules changed as we became a more professional business and a more
managed,
not just managed, but and I'm thinking from the more Four Seasons type rather than just out of my house type.
Okay.
As we raised our bar, she didn't want to raise up with us. It's like we wanted her to we want everybody to wear a scrub top with a name tag so people recognize who's working there, because we're so big now and busy. So if guests are there, that they can see who belongs there. And she would come out of the massage room wearing a tank top looking like she just came from the gym. It's like there's a sense of, really? You're not, and Brad would say, I mean, that's when I loved it, that I learned in the last, business excellence thing. He's like, as you grow, some people won't want to grow with you. Leave them behind. And that's what I had to do, is I had to leave her behind. I had to let her go because she did not want to grow with us. And so the team that I have on board now, they're all in. And it's such a nice change in attitude and outlook. And, they'll go through the filing cabinet, and they'll pull files and they'll look for people to help grow their book. And they'll, they come to leadership, they come to team meetings, they have ideas, they're involved, they're engaged, and they don't want to miss coaching. Like, they appreciate the fact that I want to take the time to spend with them to see how they're doing. What can I do to help you? How can we grow you? And it's just been, it's such a change. And so one of the lessons I've learned like that is, if someone on your team is not coachable, you may need to let them go. It doesn't matter if they've been with you forever, because if they're not willing to grow with you, you got to cut the cord.
Yeah, and
one of the worst things I've ever had to do.
Yeah, and the coachable is, you could transfer that word to growable.
Yeah,
and you use both right there, but that, like when you said coachable, I was like, I don't know if that term is going to translate to folks, but coaching is for growth. Management is not for growth. Management is just for requirements and standards and doing things. But the difference between management and coaching is going to help somebody achieve an objective and grow and develop. And so coaching, are they coachable? Are they growable? Because what you said is, you said, if I got to grow my team, I got to grow. But why do you have to grow your team? You have to grow your team so you can grow your business.
Right.
You're not going to be able to grow a great business without a great team. And most people come to you, they're not great. Most people that come to you are painfully average.
They give a great massage.
No, yeah, that's right. That's right. But come up.
They give a great massage. That's why they're hired.
Great
but then all the rest of that development, I have to guide them and help them with, because 95% of them don't come. They say they know how to rebook, but then they really don't.
That's right.
Like, when I coach them, teach them and help them. And one of the things I tell them too, is it's not just about, because they're like, oh, we go over the same thing every time. I was like, yeah, but your book's not full. When your book is full, then then obviously you've learned it and I don't need to keep helping you.
That's
but
right.
It's like this whole thing of, and it's not just professional development, it's personal development too. What are you doing to grow yourself and learn life lessons and that type of thing. I've had some of my therapists going through a lot of really, we did a team meeting and we went around and everybody had like a really, really challenging and tough February. And a lot of that I didn't even realize for so many people was just really, really hard. But by sharing that amongst all of them together, it really brought everybody closer, and now they work even better together. So
right. Yeah, as mostly independent contractors as well. A lot of the things I hear, and man, I'm going to cut this out and share it, because I have a lot of folks that, talk about, well, how do I control independent, or how do I help? Everybody's independent. So, and they have the belief that, I can't get them to get together for meetings, or, I can't do this and I can't do that. And they're on their own deal. And what do you do with them? And you can't grow and develop them and coach them. And what you have proven is that is not true, because you have this belief of, if I'm going to have a great business, I'm going to have a great team. And to make a great team, it's just not going to happen organically.
Right.
Like you have to put some intention, because they can say, yeah, I'm good at this, but you're like, well, look at the numbers here. The numbers say you're not very good. And look, the numbers say over here, this person's really good. So we're in the same market, in the same business. What's the difference between you and them? And, they realize that, oh, maybe it's me. Oh, by the way, we've also had people here in the past that have done this. Oh, by the way, I used to do this number as well. So you're nowhere close to that. You're a third of that. You're a tenth of that. What I used to do from a repeat business, like that's a numbers thing or number of bookings. So maybe it might be you. And it's funny to watch how you've taken. I'm thinking, one of your the bright shining light in your business right now, who has really transformed in a big way. I just think she's awesome. But watching her grow to where you have challenged and grown and developed and developed and developed, and then they broke through. And they broke through.
It's such a good thing to see. I just love it.
And they're stuck and they're this and that. And man, when I walk in the room with her anytime, man, she lights up, it lights up, to where, and she wasn't always like that. And what's created that new identity and that new growth and that new bright light and positive, energy comes from she's developed, she's confident, she feels successful, and it's really changed. And she kind of pulls the team up. To that level. And of course, she's, some of the sourpusses that you've had in your organization that have left, really resented her to a certain degree because, that was, that shined a light on some of their own issues that they had. But the pressure, like applying, how do you, to grow someone, you've got to apply a certain amount of pressure and development growth, and having those recurring coaching sessions, those growing sessions. We may need to relabel that, by the way, the coaching sessions, the growing sessions. But the, having that regular development and push and pressure to develop and help them know, like, I know you can do more. It has been done. You're as good or if not better than that person that's done it. So how do we figure out what the roadblocks are in the way? Because most people don't have someone in their life that are helping them remove the personal and professional roadblocks that prevent them from operating at their full potential.
Exactly.
And I feel like, it's cool because I know it exists because I've done it. We've done it with you. I've done it with other folks. You've learned how to do it, and you've copied that to the people that you work with. You've grown and developed and them. And because you have gone through that journey yourself, you're like that. You provide a great resource and mentor and teacher. So, now you have this environment to where you're like, for the people that want it and get it and want growth and development, they're like, oh my gosh, here's somebody that, and I think what that's going to turn into now that your culture shifted and that you've gotten, committed to, and a side note, I'll tell everybody a little secret. Gretchen wasn't always committed to it. For a while, she made excuses. She had reasons why she couldn't do it. She was too busy. She was running two businesses. She was, full load of acupuncture clients that, like, she had no shortages of things to do in her life. So, but once you got committed to that piece, then, how things have changed. I don't know. You got any other?
Well, I mean, if you want to talk, so I have several coaching sessions on Thursday mornings. And so yesterday I set my alarm and got up at 3:30 in the morning so I could work with one of my team because we moved it from Thursday to Friday morning. And because I hadn't had a chance to touch base. It's just so important because I found like not only do we work on personal growth and development for them, but it connects us. I think that's one of the most important things is I know what's going on with them through those sessions. I know where they're struggling. I know where they need support and they need love. Like the lady I just worked with yesterday, like she lost both of her dogs. Like when I'm on Valentine's Day, and then, she's just been really, really struggling. So her numbers are down. She wasn't taking people. She wasn't really rebooking. It was all she could do just to show up. And she said a year ago, she couldn't have even shown up. But this year she pulled it together enough to get there. But when it came to rebooking and talking to people and all that kind of stuff, she just didn't really have it. And so she's like, thank you so much for understanding. But if I wasn't having these regular sessions with her and knew what was going on, then all I would see is the number and not the person. And so I think that's part of why doing these regular sessions with your team is so important, because where they just need a little extra hand holding for a little bit versus they're just being a slacker. There's a big difference in connecting with your team and knowing them on that deeper level and supporting them. Because when you do that, they're so much more willing to go the extra mile for you because you've done it for them.
That's right.
It makes a huge difference. If you don't know what's going on in their life and you don't know why they're barely showing up, then, you might think they just need to be let go, but no, it's because something happened. Their dad's sick or their dog died or something. It's like,
that's right.
You need to know those things about what's going on with your team.
That's right, because they are not human doings. They're human beings.
Right. Yeah.
And being able to check in, and outside of where the manager comes in and goes, what did you do? Where are your results? Let's look at your numbers. Like, that's where most managers come in. And the distinction, I believe, between a manager and a coach, a coach in our world, one of the things I always start with is checking in and going, how you doing, man? What do you feel like expressing? Let's check in with the human being that's doing this and what's going on in their life. And that can take a totally different direction, the coaching session, when I prepped and, man, I'm fired up and I'm ready to jump in your stuff about you not doing this and your KPIs aren't ready and you haven't done this and we agreed to these things. But before I start going to that, how you doing? And we do this ritual whiffle where we check in and talk about what you're feeling and what's going on in your life, and you realize, well, wait a second, whoa, we got a human being here, and that we've got to deal with the human being stuff and be sensitive to that. Right balance of when do we use that for empathy and when do we not accept an excuse, or there's that fine line of how we use that information to be able to adjust and course correct. But you really have to have a feel for, and if before you start jumping their tail about why they didn't do this and that and why you're rebooking numbers down, to find out that, oh, okay, what do and what you need right now is some form of a hug, and care and concern, and go, just work through this. Here's what I found. Here's a resource. Here's support, because coaching is much more than accountability and deadlines. It's also support.
Yes. And for mine, what I do for that too is, especially if they're struggling emotionally, because y'all remember, I have 9 massage therapists, an esthetician, and 2 acupuncturists. So very emotional people, very sensitive and all that kind of stuff. So they're working with all these people and they have all this stuff coming on them. And so a lot of times they're overwhelmed. They can have some anxiety and all that stuff. And so I give them a lot of acupuncture to help them deal with just the emotional aspect of things. That's part of my support system for them, is not just listening, but actually taking action to help them work through things and help them with the emotional side of things. And I also encourage them to get massage and share, trade massages with each other and help support each other, because we've all learned the hard way that not addressing the emotional aspect of things doesn't, sweeping things under the rug does not make for a better person or a better team. It just makes things worse later. So that's part of what I do for support. And I know not everybody can do that, within their business, but understanding that there may be avenues of help and support outside of your business to help your team members, encourage them to go, maybe get them a gift certificate for something that will take some of the pressure off of them, or something like that. Because we can do it all in-house, but for those of you that can't do it in-house, there are things that you can do to be supportive if somebody's having a really difficult time. I think that's just so important. And then what happens after that, so they come through that, they get through that hard time, and you've been supportive of them, where do you think the loyalty is going to be?
That's right.
They're going to be more loyal to you because you didn't just kick them to the curb when they were suffering. You were there for them. And that makes a big difference.
That's right. It's the difference between head stuff and heart stuff. One of the things that, Rich Maloney, who's our engagement, guru within the action coach world, and he's developed an incredible program called Engage and Grow. And one of the things he teaches is the difference between head and heart. You think that a lot of businesses focus on head, rules, regulations, compliance, head type things to move a business forward. But if you want a truly engaged team, then you've also got to have the heart side as well. And have it, because of an engaged, you can't an engaged business performs a whole lot better. And that's a buzzword that's out there in the corporate world. It's like, we need more engagement, we need more engagement, we need more engagement. People want more. And so engagement is a nice buzzword that's out there. And but that's going to come from really connecting at the heart level. You can't regulate, which one? My heart's over here. You can't regulate. I'm actually superimposed on the screen. So
right. Yeah, am I doing it right?
But yeah, but you can't regulate. You can't mandate engagement. Engagement's got to come from within somebody, from their heart.
Right.
And so now you've done some cool things to get people connected from a heart by kind of you've learned some things from Richard and me about, about employee engagement and connection, which is one important component of engagement is connection. Talk about how you guys are connecting on a deeper level within your meetings.
Well, one of the things we do is we start out with a WIFL, which in action coach language, that stands for what I feel like expressing. And so I'll just kind of share a little bit about what's happened lately. Mm-hmm. So when I got rid of the person that was being the anchor, that wanted to wear the tank top and wasn't really part of the team, and, just all that kind of stuff. She had said some things back over the holidays to another team member that she had told me she was going to apologize for and then never did. So that other team member, who's very engaged with the business and everyone else, was very hurt, but never felt like she could really share in the team meetings when that person was there, because that person had just done a lot of damage, in the relationship. And so then when she couldn't be open and honest, then it just kind of set the whole, I knew what was going on with her, but when she would do her whiffle, she'd be like, well, I'm just blah, blah, blah. And so nobody could understand what was going on with her. But when I finally cut loose the person that was not being a part of things, last month when we had our team meeting, totally different dynamic. It's like everybody felt safe enough to share from their heart. And that's when we learned, it was the beginning of March, how crappy February had been for everybody. Like, I didn't even know it had been that bad. Mm-hmm. But when everybody shares like something that they've overcome or something that they're dealing with, mm-hmm. then everybody realizes, oh, that person is not being hateful, or they're not being mean to me or whatever. They're just upset inside, and this is just the way it's expressing. So when everybody went around the room with everything that they had gone through, there was this sense of collective shared, I don't want to say trauma, because it wasn't trauma, but right. Just like, we've been through all this. Everybody had their own thing they went through, but oh, look, I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm not alone. I'm working with people that get me. And mm-hmm. everybody understands what's going on now. Mm-hmm. And so I don't have to like pretend to be someone that I'm not. And there was just such a, it was more of just this supportive system now, that everybody's engaged with helping each other. Mm-hmm. And, it's not just about me. It's about not just me, but okay, I'm here for me, but I'm also here for you, you, and you, and you. And there's just such a better sense of team than mm-hmm. there has ever been. But that's one of the things I've learned from Richard, is that when people share something they've overcome,
mm-hmm. That's right.
Something that's been difficult that they've overcome, mm-hmm. it makes for a closer team. And what was funny is I had that set up as part of the agenda on the team meeting, was to go, like, what's something you've overcome, so that ended on a positive or whatever. I didn't have to do that because everybody had just been through so much. Yeah. And it just came out in the whiffle. And so it was just really amazing. But one of the things I've learned is you have to get people to share, like, you have to get the whiffle started uh-huh. with somebody who's not going to just say, oh, everything's great. Mm-hmm. Because then nobody shares.
That's right.
You have to get somebody that starts the whiffle with some heartfelt emotion of what they've been dealing with. And that's then right. When you have that come, then you have a good share all the way around the room, and right. people get really emotional and they get really honest and open. And that changes the dynamic of the team tremendously.
Right. And people are willing to get vulnerable. I mean, so there's a lot of great lessons in here from a lot of great business theory offers systems for team dynamics, but sprinkled in there that come to mind are being vulnerable. You want a team to gel, to work cohesively together, willingness to be vulnerable. And back to the theory behind the engagement guru that we've, got in our system that has taught us, the important thing about, in order to get the heart pumping and get a team connected and engaged, it's about, you got to create human connection, and you create human connection by shared stories, by learning their story and knowing that, in the structured way to do this, that, Richard puts in his books and is really offered in conferences and those kind of things, is, kind of going through and sharing. All right. So, talk about, what you felt like your greatest success in life, and also what's been the greatest challenge in your life. What's been one thing that you've really overcome that's made you the person you are today, and how it developed you, how your great adversity came to become your greatest advantage, and what did it teach you along the way. And you hear stories. I didn't do a program with you. But I've done engagement programs as a certified engagement pro, facilitator. I've done programs for other businesses, and it's so amazing what comes out. And the difference in my own paradigm of people that I've known for years. I mean, I didn't want these with Dominic, man. And, I heard his story that, we got him vulnerable, which, Dominic, man, he's straight up poker face, not going to let show you my cards, man. When he got vulnerable, man, I was like, dude, and I was a big fan of you to start with, but I'll freaking run through a wall for you. Knowing what I've been, where you came from and what you're all about, man. I would, I'd go to battle with you, man. And he's a big dude to battle with, but I've created some of those relationships or those stories that, like, dude, you're in jail. If I'm not there with you, I'll come to get you. Like, I'm the guy you can call now at 2 a.m. You need anything, because I'll do anything for you, knowing just who you are and what you've come from, man. You just think it inspired me and just fired me up. So anyway, those shared human connections can be really, really powerful things when they're authentic and they're not corny, corporate. This is what the corporate folks are making.
Right.
And I think that's where people make fun of engagement programs or corporate team building type stuff, is they're all thinking head stuff and they don't get to the heart.
Right.
And what you've learned is, you've really taken some little touches of that and going, you know what, we're just going to learn how to get straight to the heart. And as well as people, and again, helps people stay safe. And you've done that exercise before. So that wasn't by accident, I think. People sharing automatically, I think you've done those smart things before. And they're like, all right, it's safe to share. And it's been really cool. So that's cool on how that's.
Yeah. And so on that note, though, too, I would just suggest for people, if you're doing that, but people aren't, because that whole part of the ideal team player thing too, is that whole trust stuff. So if there's something going on, like that there's someone in the group that's causing nobody else wants to share, you might need to look at that person.
That's right.
Like, does that person really belong there?
Right. That's right. Or start to look at those red flags when they're not engaged.
Yeah, if they're not engaged, or if because they're there, other people won't engage.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and if they're not engaged, like, those are red flags. It's funny how we watch the red flags. I've enjoyed, we started working not just with you exclusively, but with your team in the last year and a half or so. And, it's been funny to watch as we've kind of forced the issue on some things, that you start to see the red flags of disengagement. Like, even with, and start to see those red flags come up, and you're like, well, those have been some changes that you've needed to make. Because they weren't engaged. They weren't, you put them in environments where most people engage and they don't. What's up? And so it's been funny to watch how, as we push the envelope on, just look for those red flags, I think, is the point.
Yeah.
And I think as I cued into them, you cued into them, and then then applied some pressure. They popped.
Right.
And who they are came out, and they have been moved on to things that are more suited for their deal, as opposed to being unengaged, and in somewhat not just unengaged in the middle of the boat. That's an analogy for another day, but not just in the middle of, I'll be engaged when you watch me, but when I'm not looking, I'm gonna, you're on vacation, you're in Hawaii, I'm gonna screw off and not really be engaged and do a halfway job. And then you got the people on the back of the boat. People in the front of the boat are rowing hard. Those are your engaged people. It's where 20% of the American workforce set. top front of the boat, engaged, paddling hard. Middle of the boat, on average American workforce is kind of in the middle. They're engaged when you're watching them and holding them compliant. They're willing compliance. They'll do what you tell them as long as you're watching. They'll stay within their job description, right? And then you've got the disengaged in the back of the boat, which are rebels. They're about to quit. They're highly disengaged.
Stealing clients.
Yeah, or they're disobedient. I mean, they're disobedient. They will look at you in your face and say, "Yeah, I'll do that," and they go and do whatever they want to do anyway.
Right.
So what we found is those people that were showing those signs of lack of engagement were disengaged, highly disengaged. They were sabotaging the business. In the boat, they were throwing out boat anchors. We get that boat anchor analogy, and bringing on water and hitting somebody else with a paddle.
Yeah.
Oh my bad. And doing those kind of things. So, having opportunities to look for those red flags and reading the tea leaves.
Right.
So closing up, because I know you got grandbabies to play with and Hawaii to enjoy. Thanks for getting up early and doing this with me. The last thing, talk a little bit about the lessons you've learned around cutting the cord, because you've learned lessons around that. It's not in your makeup. You're a care provider. You're a nurturer, and you've chosen massage therapy and acupuncture as a profession. So let me talk about the archetype a little bit. That for those that aren't plugged into that, you care for people. You love people, and you love on people. With touch and feel and emotions, and care for people to get them well. You're a nurturer. You're a healer. You're a fixer. You're
rescuer.
You're a rescuer. You're
Yes.
all those things. And you've come from such an amazing place, both personally and professionally, to where you are today. And so you're also a huge optimist, and you can, it's like, so you've got.
I see the best in everybody. I try really hard to see the best in everybody.
Yeah, that's right. So there's all that going on, and now you employ these people that are either moderately, that are either moderately engaged, willing compliance, just in the middle of the boat, or disengaged on your boat. So as a growing business owner, you've had to make some tough decisions. Talk about lessons learned around that.
Well, so one of the lessons I've learned is, so there's a hiring process that I've learned with Reggie that is quite a process. And when I bypass that process, which I have done, because I've been kind of like, oh my God, I need somebody right now. So you just, hire somebody too fast without really figuring out if they would be a good fit or not. And then they get in there, and there's a sense of like, well, I brought you on, I should keep you on. Maybe I just need to train you more. Maybe you just need this, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I need to work with you more. And in the meantime, Reggie in our coaching, she's like, she doesn't really seem like she's, and like she should be like on point with this stuff. She's your manager, or she's this or whatever. But she's not doing the things that that person in that department should do. But in the meantime, because they have problems or they have something going on or whatever, you don't want to let them go, and you feel sorry for them. I've learned like none of that is really like, their stuff is not my responsibility. My responsibility has to be towards the company and making sure that we stay afloat so that everybody else that works there can still have a job. We had one person that, Reggie had kept pointing things out to me, but I was like, oh, well, there's this sense of like, what will I do without her? But then Reggie had somebody, he's like, I think there's somebody that could be a better fit for you. And there was something that happened during a staff meeting where she just directly tried to sabotage what I was saying. And I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I'm just done. And I let her go. I mean, and it was the best thing for her and the best thing for the company.
That's right.
And so the person that I brought in place of her has been the one that you've heard me talk about, who's like making sure things are going and making sure, cutting expenses and just keeping an eye on things, and is so loyal. This other person I learned, she was just not loyal. She always thought she was better than the company that she was working for. Right. and then I had other people that just didn't have the right attitude. It's like when you have somebody working front desk or interacting with the public, they really need to have a good attitude and a smile on their face.
That's right.
No matter what. So another lesson learned is, first lesson learned is be careful about doing your hiring process, no matter what, if at all possible.
Yes.
Sometimes it just isn't possible, but if at all possible, do the hiring process and, do the personality profile stuff so that you make sure that they're a good fit for your company. That was one of the things that Reggie warned me about when I hired that other person originally. She had way too much of one type of personality thing. And he warned me. He's like, she might be okay for a while, but then she's going to try to run, and exactly what he said happened. So I've just learned I can't keep people on out of a sense of obligation or guilt or whatever that I feel, not even guilt, but there's that sense of, it's hard to let people go because they need the money, they need the job, they have a mortgage, all that kind of stuff makes it really super hard. Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, I have to do what's best for the company. Mm-hmm. And probably the biggest lesson I've learned is if my gut is telling me mm-hmm. this is no longer a good fit, I need to learn to listen. Because I have never said, ever have I said, I wish I had not listened to my gut feeling.
Right.
Like have you ever said, I wish I had not listened to my gut? Usually it's the opposite. It's like, if only I had listened to what my gut was telling me. Mm-hmm. Because there's a big reason that we have that. I think it's our subconscious or just our gut picks up on things aren't right. Mm-hmm. There's something wrong here. And if I'm feeling that, I need to listen. Now, the other aspect of that too is I need to listen when my team comes to me with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm, because mm-hmm. when I may not be interacting with somebody that often. Mm-hmm. So we had a massage therapist on board who she was a really good therapist, but she did not get along with the team at all. Like nobody on the team really liked her. And I kept her on because, she was instrumental in us expanding, just a lot of those things. But eventually it just got to the point where I was like, I have to listen to what other people on the team are telling me. Mm-hmm. Because she's one way in front of me, but she's another way with everybody else. That's right. And so I have to learn not only to listen to my gut, but I have to learn to listen to my team. And when 5 people are saying, she's acting like a duck, she's like, no, I'm a swan. But everybody else like, no, she's a duck. I have to learn that maybe the 5 have a better view of what's going on right. than
and they're not all the things that are inside your head, which is they're jealous or they're intimidated or you start to make up stories for your swan,
right?
Manipulating you into thinking that they're a swan that are
right.
influential and bulldozing back to the ideal team player of
right.
smart and hungry but not humble. Which
right.
doesn't make up the which is a big problem, and that's the skillful politician and or bulldozer that mm-hmm. Was able to, and they're like and because you tell yourself those stories to go, oh no, well they're okay, and also I'm kind of liking what they're doing for my business. They're being progressive and they're making me some money and collusion with them on some of the benefit of the thing they're doing. When at the same time that it's creating a lot of dismay and dissension amongst the harmony of the team.
Right. And I think that's probably been one of my biggest lessons too, is if someone's causing a lot of disharmony within the team, even if they're good at what they do, because I've had several therapists, that they were really good. They had loyal following. They had a lot of clients, but the way they got along with the team was just like oil and water. And mm-hmm. those people, you got to let them go. You got to cut them loose. And let me tell you, the other thing I've learned is when you cut that cord and you let those people go, it is amazing what the universe will send you to replace them.
Right.
Amazing. You're all worried about like, oh my God. So the last person I let go, she'd been with me 5 years, had a huge clientele, mm-hmm. And I knew she was taking clients and I knew she would take clients when she left, mm-hmm. which she did, even though it's against her contract and, everything else, her karma, not mine, mm-hmm. That kind of thing. But there was part of me like, she's going to take it. But at the same time, the change in the company, like all of her clients didn't leave. They like relax. They just happen to like her, but they're happy to come with another massage therapist. And the other people that have brought on board, the bright, they're just these shining lights. And so business has grown since she's left, which
wow.
I thought, oh my God, she's going to like take all these clients and there's going to be this dip. And no, that is not what happened. So don't be afraid to get rid of the person that is just causing dissension in the ranks, because what I've learned, everybody's replaceable.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is replaceable. Even me. Like, they're running the business now. I'm not there.
Right.
Like, they don't really need me. Yeah. I've got plans in place. If something happens on my way back across the Pacific, that business can keep on going without me.
Right.
It's not dependent on me. So be careful about your own sense of importance. Mm-hmm. Put things in place to make you replaceable, because that's what you want. You don't want to have to be the one doing all the work all the time. But realize that no matter who's on your team, they are replaceable. If they're being a butt and not contributing to the team, or they're causing dissension, or they're not growing with you and your company, let them go.
That's right. Because you're not going to grow because they're a boat anchor going to drag you down. In closing, just this final statement that Brad really has put into my head from our Action Coach conference that you and many of the local Action Coach community of business owners have been to. He made this statement that has stuck with me, which is, your business should be boring.
Yes.
Your business should be boring. It should not be exciting. You should be bored to death with your business. And that's the sign of a good business. A good business is boring.
Because you have all the systems in place, teams are running smooth, everything's going great. So then if you're that entrepreneurial mindset, that's when it's go time to get another business.
That's right. That's right. Go create you want disruption? Go create it in another business after your business is boring and
profitable. Another one.
Go start something else. But go find somewhere you can go make some money. But a proper run business is boring, and that's when it's right. And so you have the goal of having and some people feed off the drama, and they need that. They need to be important. They need to solve problems. They need to all that. And just so, having the target and the goal of, I want to create a boring business of people that don't, aren't mad at each other and don't have,
no drama.
People that are bringing trauma in the organization, and, not having a boat full of people that are hitting each other with paddles.
Right.
So anyway, so good. Well, Gretchen, this has been awesome. You've got grandkids to play with, and I appreciate you sharing as much as I was hopeful and thinking. Anyway, it's been amazing how much time has passed. I don't know if you realize, but we're almost 2 hours in on this thing. So yeah. So it's been engaging and fun, and I think what you have shared will do a lot to help business owners grow and develop.
I hope so.
Yeah. Any short lines, like anything just to close off with, like if you could give one piece of advice to growing business owners, people that are on the grind, maybe people that have started. There's some people who see this that were where you were, 15 years ago. 12 years ago, like what would you say to them in regards to, like, how do you make this and they would the thought of $1 million and 7 figures in revenue and 18 employees is just so far away. For me. Yeah. So what would you say to somebody that's on that journey now, one piece of advice would you give to them?
Okay. So pretend Reggie's not there, y'all, but hire a coach. I will tell you, I know this seems like, this is just but I would not be where I am today without him. I just wouldn't, because when you're a business owner, you have to have somebody else to be accountable to. Because if it's just you and you're always the boss and nobody's holding you accountable for doing, growing and developing and doing things and setting goals and all that type of stuff, then you're never going to reach your potential. You got to have somebody who's going to push you and get you where you want to go and help you dream bigger dreams. Because part of not only working with Reggie, but working with everybody else that works with Reggie is they help me dream bigger. Mm-hmm. They're like, they give me ideas and dreams that I was never even thought of. Like, I never even dreamed about $1 million business until one of my Action Coach co-members,
co-clients, or one of my other clients, other business owners in the community,
said something like, well, why don't you do this? And I just thought, oh my God, like, it never even occurred to me that I could. And it's that type of shared, everybody's doing this together, and, you know, with a common goal of growing your business to be boring one day, you know, so you don't have to be there all the time. I couldn't have done it alone. And it's not just Reggie, but it's the group, you know, it's the whole community that we all help each other and support each other and share the struggles of business ownership and all that together.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mean to be an advertising thing for you on this, but I mean, it's just, you've changed my life, Reggie. You know?
Sweet. That's what we're in the business for. You know, it's honor to do, because that's why I do what I do, and that's what gives me the passion to do it. So to be able to do it on the backside, it's freaking awesome to get that kind of recognition and acknowledgement from a human being that, like, you changed their life. You're gonna get me to cry. Freaking stop it. But you know, the thing that, to wrap up kind of what you said there, was the power in environment, and and the power of a group of progressive, in our context, business owners, group of progressive business owners that are growing, that are ambitious and want to grow. Hanging out in that environment has been critical to your growth, which is why I put so much time, effort, and energy into it, in creating community. And it's hard to get business owners to get together for half a day once a month, and they got all kinds of reasons and excuses and all that kind of stuff. But what happens on the backside, but why do they do it? Because I'm telling you, I tell people, to get people that aren't part of the community, that don't get that, like, hey, I'll invite you to half a day thing. Or I'll get like a strategic alliance, like a financial planner. So I'm saying, look, I'll take your 5 of your best clients, and they can sit in there and be part of this group. You can lead the table. Like, and he is struggling with executing on getting 5 business owners that he knows to be able to sit down for half a day, because they're like, I can't take half a day. And part of it's his mindset of he can't get them to do it. Like, he struggles with it, so he can't. He's creating the self-fulfilling prophecy thing, but he can't. But he also says he gets a lot of pushback on half a day. Man, I've got business owners that are growing, super busy, but why do they commit to that time? Because they understand the power of the environment of others to be able to grow them, because environments one of the most powerful things that will help you grow. And that's why culture is so important in an organization, and why they put so much around that. And then also culture being important within your world, because 96% of the people in the population, and 96% of the people that you hang out with outside of the Action Coach community, they're employees. They're either employees or they're self-employed.
Exactly.
And so you will think like your employee husband, love him, awesome dude, man. He's incredible, but he's an employee, and he thinks like an employee, and he behaves just like the 96% of the people in your life. And if you don't get yourself around some of that environment of progressive business owners,
it's that people that play above the line. Like, that's one of the things you've taught us, is playing up here and not making excuses, not taking, blaming or all that kind of stuff. It's like, and although you call us out on it, it's like having each of us call each other out on that, is, I think, in many ways much more powerful, because we can see the excuses, like, wait a minute, it's that group dynamic of calling each other out and being willing to take that feedback.
That's right.
Nobody at my office is going to give me feedback like that, because I'm the boss.
That's right.
Right. So having it from other, what'd you say? Co-clients? I call member, like
community, members, other members of the community, of the Action Coach business, or progressive business owners that are, that are part of that community and environment that you have. So.
Yeah, no excuses, full responsibility, and then willingness to call each other out and help each other grow. Right. I love it, because it's, being an entrepreneur and being a business owner is a very lonely business.
That's right.
It's lonely because you're just over there by yourself and like, trying to deal with it all. Because
nobody gets it. Nobody wants to hear it. Your husband will hear it for a little bit, but he really.
Oh my God, I don't want to tell him anything.
And he don't want it because he wants to fix it, because he's a fixer.
Yes.
He's a fixer. He's like, we just do this and do that, and you're like, it's. So you don't want to hear it, you don't want to hear it back, and then your employees, they don't want to hear about your problems, and you can't tell them all your problems, because you'll freak them out. If they knew you for they knew what was going on behind the curtain, they'd freak out. So having those other employee those other owners and network
co-owners, co-owners, or what, it's hard to. I don't know, but I don't know. I guess if I'm allowed to invite somebody that's listening to this to come and join us one day for half a day, come and join us and see what it's all about. I think you'll be glad you did.
Cool. All right, cool. Well, thanks so much. Aloha and mahalo. Enjoy the rest.
Aloha.
Thanks for taking some time out of time with your grandkids that you don't get much of, and time in freaking paradise to be able to willing to share with other business owners. So that thing, that's a cool thing. So appreciate all your willingness and abundance to share. So high five.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Reggie.
Have a good trip.